Hey guys, welcome to another guide or tips video. I heard your feedback and it was well received for the previous comparisons series videos that I am planning to release going forward, and I plan to do it on a weekly basis for those of you guys that were happy with it from the previous video. So thank you so much for providing the both positive and critical feedback that you may have left in the comments or anywhere else. Either through Discord or Twitch if needed. Thank you so much. So, going forward, I still want to produce any types of guides or tips or unit reviews as long as they're relevant to some of the older stuff. So, as we did, we just covered like Blue Lance Flyers. I probably might do something like Red Sword Infantry next, or maybe a colorless infantry dagger bow. Not sure yet, but anyways, those will come weekly. Every other video for now on YouTube is bi-daily, so if something is weird and I don't release a video on a bi-daily basis, whether it's gameplay, guide, tips, whatever, then you'll know through Twitter, so feel free to follow there, or Discord announcements as well. So as you probably guessed by the title of this video, this is a Rokkr Sieges, kind of like a mini guide, mini tips video. And I'm actually going to play it through right here in the guide as quick as I can. It's not really going to take that long, but I wanted to give you guys some easy tips to maximize score. And it's not the most complicated of modes. I'm not a huge fan of the mode, but I wanted to make sure that you guys can take advantage of it and make it as painless as possible. So I am rank 2 in this group, and I haven't spent a single axe. These refill of axes, I've literally just been using it as it comes, and I've gone to 680k. So this is totally realistic. It's not huge investments. It does require a little bit though, or at least the right units to make it work. I will write down the notes on the left side of the screen once we jump into it. But yeah, so anyways, first thing and the most important thing about Rokkr Sieges is making sure you target the right boss, okay? So as you can see right here, I have Arden. And if you did the previous Rokkr Sieges, you know that any of the melee units were the preferable options also. I believe it was like Legendary Erica was one of them, and there was like Klein and Kagro, and they were not desirable at all to fight. So the same rule applies. Generally, range bosses are more difficult to maximize score in. And what you can do when it isn't the boss that you would like to see is actually cycle through it. And the way to cycle is very easy. Just use like a single axe here. Don't boost it. You can try your best in advance, but ultimately the score doesn't matter. Just the point is that once you do the fight, your allies will come and kill the boss, which rotates it out. And this is a good way to not maximize your stamina. Just spend a single one. Try to rotate the boss out to a preferable one that you have good matchups against. For example, Arden is really good here for me because I have Est, and Est is my carry unit. We'll go into carry units in a moment. Sue actually isn't so bad for some people who might be using Pala or Sheeta as their carry units. So it totally depends on what your units and comps are ultimately, but I have some general tips to get you started and try to maximize with whatever you have. So my comp is right here on the top. But I'm going to make sure their skills are right before I jump into fighting Arden here. So I usually do everything through skill sets because it makes things real quick. But yeah, so this is my comp. And under Earth, basically Naysala acts as a cleanup unit. Basically Naysala is going to go and fly around and kill all the additional units that spawn alongside the boss. He has Gale Force, he has Heavy Blade, he has Drag Back, and for some support he has Goad Flyers because my carry unit is a flyer unit, Est, actually. Leanne is here. She's mostly carrying drive. She doesn't even need the drive speed. It's pretty much a pretty standard base kit here. She's mostly brought in for the healing and the dance utility. Same idea for Racing. Chill attack is to make sure that the boss doesn't hurt your unit outside of the guard range. And this is going to be important when we talk about the carry unit. And finally, I want to talk a little bit about the pair-up unit. This is actually quite important. If you have one, Legendary Alm, or Legendary Roy, or Legendary Elwood, they all are actually fairly important, even though you will not see him used at all. And I'll tell you why in a moment, why he's so important. We'll make sure that he is paired up with Est in a second. Let's make sure Est is also ready to go. So she's a +6 Est. You've seen her probably on the Flyer Ball videos that I've made before. she gets the job done because she has effective damage and color triangle advantage against Arden. It's actually really easy to win because of that. But the build may seem a little weird to some of you guys, and I don't blame you for thinking it's weird. I don't even need like the A skill to be attack defense bond. It's mostly just pumping out attack. And the most important thing to realize from this build here is the Astra and Guard 2. Now, I don't have 20,000 feathers to spend for Guard 3, and I honestly don't recommend it. I just kill Titania or Leon for Guard 2 from their 4-star versions, unless they're purge projects, then I don't recommend doing it, and maybe find someone else who has Guard or Special Fighter. So the idea is you have a carry unit, and it's someone who's carrying Guard. They're going to be fighting the Rokkr most of the time, and that unit has to do as much damage as possible. That's why I mentioned Paula and Sheeta against Sue, because they have weapon triangle advantage or effective damage, and that's what S brings here. Effective damage, color triangle advantage makes her matchup extremely smooth, extremely strong. She pumps out a lot of damage. So, and then you bring out some support units, usually dancers and a cleanup unit. So this is the fundamentals of it, but I wanted to touch on the pair up unit and why it's so important. People do actually forget this a lot. So he's paired up with S, but why is pair up so important? It's actually this text here, which a lot of people forget about, which is pair up bonuses. Even if he's in the back line, he provides additional stats to your carry unit. So always pair up your carry unit with your pair up legendary hero. So as you can see here, the multiples of 10 indicate the extra stats that the pair up unit gets. So as you can see, I'm running Fury 2 and the attack defense 2 seal on Alm. This is to make sure that he reaches the exact integers which provide extra stats to S, and this makes it really easy to carry with S because she gets all that extra speed, attack, defense, res, etc., and it makes the run real smooth. So with that being said, builds are finalized. I'm going to go in, I'm going to show you guys how quick this is. This is just one example team. I don't recommend trying to just copy it. You got to make sure you look through your own team comps and see which matchups are the best against you. Everything that I just covered will be put now on the side there under tips. Rokkr Sieges, tips, little notepad over there, just to get you an idea. I'll show you some example gameplay. I want to say probably the most effective strat that I'm not able to display here is actually the Witchy Wand healer strategy. Witchy Wand healer strategy is by far the best strategy you can do because you can just run any bold fighter armor and just smack down with weapon triangle advantage with like TA, Bold Fighter, Astras, and just do insane amounts of damage that way with Witchy Wand, making sure the Rokkr doesn't get this special activated. This is why Guard, Witchy Wand, and Special Fighter are so important, because you don't want this going off. It makes things a mess. Usually the Rokkr boss may take the tile and whatnot, and you'll just have a lot of trouble. I will keep the damage indicators on so you guys see exactly what's going on here. But usually this is piece of cake. Will probably be done by around turn 4. So the idea is just make sure S kills.
Okay.
Destroys Arden, because 99 times 4 is a lot of damage. Who would have guessed? And we just need to reach 100k here because we don't have 8 axes to spend.
Stay strong.
If I wanted some additional support, I could put Raisin beside for ward flyers, but honestly it's not necessary, and Arden's already taken 1/5 of his health pool in the first turn. And because he has follow-up ring, he actually charges our Astra as well. And this is probably one of the easier Rokkr bosses to kill. But now you'll see where the other units also take part here. The Herons provide healing to make sure we maintain that guard range. You can bring a healer, but I believe the Herons are actually incredibly strong for this. And my cleanup unit, Naysala, is going to be doing a lot of work here. He's gonna kill the extra units, and I recommend making sure you kill them first because they provide an extra boost to your damage. So it is actually important that you get those kills first with them.
What now? Yes?
In this particular scenario, I don't believe that Naysala gets his Gale Force off. He just ends up one-shotting these units. So it's actually pretty important that he just comes back to make sure S is supported with gold flyers and activating the White Wing Spear, which is what I'm going to do here.
Okay.
And then the Lance Cav will just end up killing himself to Raisin. Keep in mind the units that spawn on these maps are incredibly weak, including the boss itself.
Do what?
So even your dancers, Herons, and whatnot can do combat on their own. As you can see, we've already taken off 50% of his health in the second turn. Now sometimes you get these really inconvenient situations where a bow cavalier might spawn and they have effective damage against your team, or you know, just 2 bows, but it's fine, it's whatever. Even though they have effective damage, they don't always tend to do well against your team.
Splendid.
So in my case, I'm just gonna kill him. When you're close to wiping the boss, sometimes you get these situations where, like, I wonder if I can just kill Arden, but the safer play would be to make sure you kill the ads.
On it.
I'm gonna test to see if 2 dancers will kill Arden. We'll see how much damage we do here. It seems like it's really close. With 2 dancers, we probably can get it.
Stay strong.
What now?
Okay.
And it appears I was right. So you can really close it out by running something as simple as this as a strategy. The safer play would have been to just dance Naysala, kill the bow cav, and he would have had Gale Force. Or maybe he wouldn't have had Gale Force, but it would have been safer to make sure our dancers weren't at risk, or the bow cav possibly killing our team. So that pretty much shows you just one example of how you can max strategy. It's really important that you consider your own team comps. Follow the simple rules I provided on the left side. And, oh look, it's Arden again, so why don't we just kill him again, I guess. Just to show you that it's really consistent. As long as you have a good fundamental team, you can make this work every single time. Sometimes the Rokkr boss just ends up being the same one, even when it respawns, which is really convenient for us.
Like this?
But if you have a Witchy Wand healer and you've invested into armor units with Bold Fighter, heavy damage, and they have effective damage or weapon triangle advantage, go for it. I mean, those are by far the best things you can do. Armor smashers, armor slayers, dragon slayers when it ends up being like a dragon. I believe Young Tiki was also a boss from the previous one, so just as an example of using something like maybe Bold Fighter, Legendary Tiki with effective damage to absolutely destroy a boss, or a Thune would have effective damage against armors, for instance. These are all really helpful things to get you going. So this is more of a scenario where I'm not going to have a clean turn 1.
On it. Stay strong.
Let us go.
On it.
Because I won't have my bond skills activated. But definitely isn't as convenient as the previous match.
Do what?
Cheer me on.
Okay.
But nonetheless, it'll still be fairly easy. As you can see, even on turn 1, we have 35k damage done. And as long as we're not charging his special, that's what matters most.
Splendid. Yes? Cheer me on.
Now, because of drag back, you'll see that Naysala drag back onto the tile and provides goad flyers to Est. I wasn't running drag back for a while, and I even thought about just keeping guard on his base kit to help with boss damage, but I realized that that really didn't matter. And what you really need is the mobility in your cleanup unit. Doesn't necessarily have to be someone like Naysala. It can be like Reinhardt, and Reinhardt has 5 effective range. Naysala is really convenient to me because he has Gale Force. So he covers a lot of range this way.
Splendid. What now?
And remember,
Cheer me on.
always try to kill the additional units first for your bonus damage.
Stay strong.
Because every little point adds up here. And I've definitely had some scenarios where I maybe missed the kill by 1,000 or something like that. I've done this fight even against not weapon triangle advantage, just not effective damage. Like, Legendary Erica was one example of this. She was just a red unit, and I decided I would use S to beat her. And it worked out fine. Although you have to try out some wonky strategies, like using Obstruct. Obstruct is sometimes required because sometimes the boss might be able to go around your carry unit and disrupt your dancers. And this is also why fighting the Rokkr bosses that ends up being ranged are not ideal, like a ranged boss, because they can hit your dancers, and sometimes the way I handle ranged bosses is like using drag back on my dancers and making sure Obstruct is there. So as you can see, it's Sue, and Sue is not really that fun to fight against for me because she has that really good range, and I'm forced to use stuff like Obstruct. I tend to use other special fighter units for this. Pretty much the same team comp as you can see here, but I would probably be using my Canigus instead with Special Fighter. Not this particular build here, you probably have Astra instead, but this is usually what's required. A carry unit must have Guard or Special Fighter if you're not using a Witchy Wand healer, just to make sure that's clear. Okay guys, with that being said, I hope I use this guide to help you in some way or not to make your own strategies to maximize score in Rokkr Sieges, collect some easy rank rewards and feathers with minimal investment. I wouldn't say this is the greatest of modes. I actually prefer Grand Conquest way more when it comes to the event modes. Even Tempest Trials tends to be sometimes just easier to cope with because you can just auto battle and go along your day. That's really my opinion on it. Thank you for watching. Look forward to, of course, more gameplay videos on Ether raids, more unit comparisons videos, and with all that being said, thank you for watching. Give the video a thumbs up, sub to the channel if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys in the next one. All right, peace.